The recent victory of Donald Trump in the 2024 U.S. presidential election has significant implications for the BRICS nations and their ongoing efforts toward de-dollarization. The economic consequences for the United States, from BRICS during Trump's presidency, involve a complex interplay of increased competition in global markets, strategic geopolitical shifts that challenge U.S. dominance, and potential currency implications that could affect economic stability and growth. As BRICS seeks to reduce reliance on the U.S. dollar in international trade, Trump's administration is expected to adopt a more aggressive stance in maintaining the dollar's dominance. Following Trump's election win, the U.S. dollar experienced a notable surge, marking its best performance in 8 years. This increase is attributed to Trump's commitment to preserving the dollar as the world's reserve currency, with threats of imposing tariffs on countries that move away from it. Trump has explicitly stated that nations opting to leave the dollar would face severe economic consequences, including a potential 100% tariff on their goods. This could lead to economic isolation for BRICS nations, making it difficult to export goods to one of the world's largest markets, significantly impacting their economies. Transitioning to local currencies for international transactions could result in higher costs and inefficiencies. Many BRICS countries still rely on the dollar as an intermediary for trade, which means that moving away from it could complicate and raise the costs of cross-border transactions. In response to Western sanctions and economic pressures, BRICS has been actively pursuing a de-dollarization agenda since 2022. This includes initiatives to conduct trade in local currencies and develop a unified payment system to enhance financial autonomy. However, Trump's policies pose a formidable challenge to these efforts. Russian President Vladimir Putin has indicated that while Russia will reduce its use of the dollar, it does not plan to eliminate it entirely from transactions. Analysts suggest that Trump may focus on undermining BRICS cohesion by exploiting divisions among its members and reinforcing U.S. influence in regions such as Latin America and Southeast Asia. As well, the introduction of a new BRICS currency or increased reliance on local currencies could lead to volatility in foreign exchange markets. As countries adjust to a new currency landscape, fluctuations could create uncertainty, impacting investment and economic stability across BRICS nations. Many emerging economies within BRICS have significant dollar-denominated debt. A shift away from the dollar could expose these countries to risks of devaluation and increased costs for servicing their debts if their local currencies weaken against the dollar. Continued opposition to the dollar may increase the risk of sanctions from the U.S. and its allies. The experience of Russia, which faced extensive sanctions following its actions in Ukraine, serves as a cautionary tale for other BRICS nations about the potential repercussions of moving away from dollar reliance. As BRICS nations pursue de-dollarization, they may find themselves at odds with Western powers, leading to strained diplomatic relations. This could limit their ability to form beneficial trade agreements with countries that remain aligned with U.S. economic policies. Despite these challenges, there are great potential benefits for BRICS nations if they successfully navigate de-dollarization. By developing alternative payment systems and promoting local currencies, BRICS countries can reduce their vulnerability to U.S. economic policies and sanctions, thus enhancing their financial sovereignty. Enhanced trade among BRICS members, using local currencies, could foster greater economic integration and resilience against external shocks. This cooperation might lead to a more balanced global economic structure over time. The U.S. may also face several significant economic consequences because of BRICS. The BRICS nations have been working to enhance their economic cooperation and reduce reliance on Western economies. This shift has led to increased competition for American businesses in key markets, particularly in sectors like technology and manufacturing. For instance, as BRICS countries strengthen their trade ties, U.S. companies may find it more challenging to maintain market share in these regions. President Trump's previous administration implemented tariffs on several goods imported from China, as part of a broader trade war, aimed at reducing the trade deficit and protecting American industries. This move prompted retaliatory tariffs from China, and other BRICS nations, which negatively impacted American exporters and increased costs for consumers. The formation of alliances among BRICS countries has been seen as a counterbalance to U.S. influence in global affairs. This shift could lead to a realignment of global power dynamics, potentially diminishing U.S. leverage in international negotiations, and affecting foreign policy outcomes. As BRICS nations seek to strengthen their economic ties, they are also diversifying their investments away from the U.S. dollar. This trend could undermine the dollar's status as the world's primary reserve currency, impacting the U.S. economy by increasing borrowing costs and reducing the effectiveness of monetary policy. The BRICS countries have expressed interest in developing alternative payment systems that do not rely on the U.S. dollar. If successful, this could lead to a significant reduction in dollar transactions globally, affecting U.S. economic stability and its ability to influence international financial systems. Increased reliance on alternative currencies by BRICS nations could lead to inflationary pressures within the U.S., particularly if the dollar weakens against other currencies due to decreased demand. In fact, the Trump administration will have limited economic and diplomatic options when it comes to dealing with the long-term consequences of BRICS. As already noted, the U.S. could impose significant tariffs, potentially up to 100%, on goods from countries that move away from the dollar. This would serve as a strong deterrent against de-dollarization efforts by BRICS nations, making it economically disadvantageous for them to pursue alternative currencies in trade. The U.S. has historically used economic sanctions as a tool to exert pressure on countries. By threatening or implementing sanctions on BRICS members that engage in de-dollarization, the U.S. can create substantial economic risks for these nations, discouraging them from pursuing their agenda. The U.S. can work to enhance the attractiveness of the dollar, by promoting its use in global trade and finance. This includes reinforcing financial networks that rely on the dollar and incentivizing countries to continue using it for international transactions. The diplomatic strategies that the United States possesses would also be limited. The U.S. can strengthen its alliances with other major economies and emerging markets that may be hesitant to join BRICS de-dollarization efforts. By fostering closer economic ties and offering favorable trade agreements, the U.S. can encourage these countries to maintain their reliance on the dollar. The U.S. can actively engage in diplomatic efforts to counter the agenda promoted by BRICS regarding the benefits of de-dollarization. This would include emphasizing the stability and liquidity of dollar-denominated assets, as well as the risks associated with alternative currencies. The U.S. can lead initiatives in financial technology, including digital currencies and blockchain solutions, to maintain its competitive edge in global finance. By developing secure and efficient payment systems that reinforce dollar use, the U.S. can mitigate the appeal of alternative systems being developed by BRICS. The U.S. could seek to exploit existing tensions and differing interests among BRICS members, such as between India and China, or between Russia and Brazil. By fostering bilateral relationships with individual BRICS countries, the U.S. could undermine collective efforts toward de-dollarization. There are also some financial market strategies that the United States can undertake. Thus, the Federal Reserve has taken steps to ensure that dollar liquidity remains available globally, particularly during financial crises. This includes establishing swap lines with foreign central banks, and introducing facilities like the FEMA repo facility, which provide stable access to dollars during times of need. The U.S. continues to promote its Treasury securities as a safe investment, which helps sustain demand for dollars globally. As of recent data, a significant portion of U.S. Treasury securities is held by foreign investors, reinforcing the dollar's status as a preferred reserve currency. Through a combination of economic pressures, diplomatic engagement, and strategic initiatives, the United States can effectively counter BRICS efforts to reduce reliance on the dollar, and thus maintain its dominant position in global finance. This could hinder BRICS' ambitions for creating an alternative financial architecture, and further complicate their de-dollarization strategies. Despite these challenges, BRICS leaders can remain committed to exploring alternative currencies and payment systems. Discussions around a common currency or enhanced use of digital currencies are ongoing, although skepticism exists regarding their immediate feasibility. The bloc's ability to establish a robust alternative payment system will be critical in countering U.S. economic sanctions and maintaining financial independence. This is a true power struggle, and it is unclear who will emerge the winner, since the United States will not go down without a tough fight. And will the BRICS nations be focused and committed enough to sustain such a fight? That is the crucial question for BRICS in the years ahead.